This is Graham with NEET Force Media. I'm here at CPAC. It is Saturday morning. The line for the Trump rally is getting pretty long, and I just met this beautiful woman here. Tell us your name.
My name is Saundra.
Where are you from?
Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
And you were telling me earlier that this is not your first Trump rally.
No, I've been to 35 rallies in 18 different states. So I decided to come to CPAC just for a break for something different.
Tell us about your first Trump rally.
My first Trump rally was in 2015 in December in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And that one was at a smaller venue, probably about 5,000 people, and I had never been to anything like it. And so as soon as the rally was over, I was like, oh, when can I do this again? And so that happened in 2016. In like March, I went to Cadillac, Michigan, and then ever since then, I've been just traveling around the country, going to all the different Trump rallies. I'm trying to, by November 3rd, have to attend 50 rallies in 25 different states. So right now I'm at 35/18. So we're slowly making progress there.
Wow. 35 rallies in 18 states.
Yeah.
It must have been a wild ride from then until now.
Yeah, a lot of traveling. Most of the beginning was by car, but now lately so in the winter it's harder to get around. I live in Michigan, and right now actually at home all the schools are closed. It's real bad weather, so it's hard to even get to the airport many times. But I've been doing it a lot with another person that lives in the Detroit area, meeting up there. And then you have so many people that you've met around the country and doing these rallies that they'll, when you get to a certain venue, if you have a problem, there's always help somewhere. So that's been nice to meet people from all over, from over by Nevada, Arizona, met people all through there, know people in Texas. Pretty much every state that you go to, each new rally that you attend, you meet many different people that actually live locally.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things, because my first campaign season was 2016. That's definitely something that happens when you travel the country following any campaign. Is like you meet a lot of people and you guys discover that you're like-minded, and then you create these friendships that are oftentimes lifelong. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, because as soon as there's a new rally announced, all the regular rally goers, there's people that have been to, actually, I've only been to 35. There's people that have been to, like, yesterday I think was Richard Snowden's 65th rally or 66th rally. So as soon as I see one on the page, I'll like screen shoot that, send it to him. Then everybody's on Facebook page. So then we're like, okay, who's going to go to this one? Who's going to go to that one? Who's going to bring, like, if I'm flying, I'll say, okay, Richard, grab a chair so I have somebody to sit on. Or then other people, for the ones that are traveling by plane, you won't be able to have blankets and pillows. So people will bring other items for people that don't have them. So if you have a car, then people will bring extra things for the people that are traveling by plane. And so we just kind of work it out, plan it that way.
So many of my friends are from California, and they are on the left side of the spectrum. Can you help us understand how does President Trump speak to you? How does he motivate you to follow him around the country and attend his rallies, where it's you and tens of thousands of other people show up, not for a musical concert, not for an amusement park where there's roller coaster rides, to hear him and others speak?
Mainly when I first started, I didn't really know what to expect at all. And I had been to over 250 concerts around the nation. And I had been to many sporting events like the Stanley Cup, the World Series games, all of that. Those were all good and they were exciting. And then the concerts also, when you're at a concert though, there's always like some downtime where there's, well, I don't really like this song, you aren't really paying attention. But when you go into a Trump rally, it's full on excitement from the minute you get in until the end. And one good thing about it too is you're always finding out about current events. It's like every time I'm at a rally, he's just announced, like, I'll be at a rally and he's just announced the USMCA trade deal. Yes. So you're learning, like, on hand what is exactly going on. For example, when I was in Battle Creek, Michigan, the rally started quite a bit later than I'd expected, and that was because they were waiting for the impeachment vote. So that was all going on. So they were backstage watching that. And so there's so many rallies that I've been to that there's like breaking news behind the scenes. And then he'll let us, know, there was one about the Mueller investigation. And so I've been to so many rallies, it seems like, that I've attended to, there's always breaking news happening at the same time. And it's neat to be like in the rally when he's actually talking about things that just happened that day. And that's happened a lot. And many people are going to the rallies too to see other parts of the country that they haven't seen before. So with me, I've been to 18 different states, and there's states that when I attended these rallies that I had never been to before, and I didn't really any intention of going there. And so with that too, we've also started to discover and travel around to some of the other Trump properties, like in Doonbeg, over there in Ireland. He has a really nice property there right on the ocean. So now with doing all these traveling in 2017, 2018, 2019, we were also bringing in other properties of his to see what they were like. And his properties are some of the best ones. I've stayed at Trump International, Washington, D.C., and Trump International, Las Vegas. The one in New York is amazing. So I'm thinking I might be staying there for November 3rd for the election, because we don't really know where he's going to be. Is he going to be in Washington, D.C.? Is he going to be in New York like before, or is he going to be in Mar-a-Lago? So as of right now, many of us don't know where we're going to be on that day. It's just going to be, hopefully we'll be at the last rally. There'll be 5 rallies probably on November 2nd, going into the 3rd. And then we'll pick one of those, whichever one that we can do. And then from there, we'll either be getting on a plane or a car to figure out where we're going to be on November 3rd. And right now, we're kind of leaning to New York, just because when you're there, they have all the big screens outside. That's like the place to be. A lot of people were outside the Fox News station area, and they did that. I was actually just home. I didn't do any of last election. I was just at home watching it on TV because I had just been to many rallies leading right up to that. So it remains to be seen where we'll actually be on the 3rd.
Very exciting. I'm actually really glad that you put into words what I have been thinking for a long time, which is one of the aspects of Trump rallies is that he shares the news with Americans that attend his rallies. I'm sure that you, having been to many rallies yourself, you can sort of see that there are parts of it that are the same, but
Yeah.
I would say a lot of it, just from the few rallies that I've been to, a lot of it is really different. Like, he really does dive into like the recent events that have happened, and he talks about it. Like, a lot of it is like really like, it seems off script, where he's just like having a conversation with this massive audience. Like, is that something that you observed?
Yeah, because when I've been to them right now we're just in the primary season, so he's talking a lot about the current events, what's happening now. He'll be talking about things that he's done. Like, he'll talk about different, like, well, this is my 5th speech, and he'll be doing all these different things at the White House, different leaders coming in. He talks about this trip to India that he was just at, all those current events, things like that. And they'll talk a little bit about the Democratic candidates. And like last night I was listening to it after the events here at CPAC, and he was actually doing a poll. He'll do these polls right in the audience to see. And the poll last night was, which of the candidates do you think would be easier to beat, Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders? And they wanted to yell to see which one got the loudest screaming. And the easiest one to beat, they thought, was Bernie Sanders.
Wow.
That was live broadcast out of Charleston.
Wow.
North Charleston, South Carolina. He did that last night. So he'll do different polls. He'll do like the one poll he does a lot, and he always is shocked by it. He said, okay, we're going to do scream for Make America Great Again, the best slogan in political history, or Keep America Great. And I would think that people would scream louder for the Make America Great Again.
Yeah.
But right now they're screaming louder for Keep America Great. But he says he's just going to keep the both of them because because he doesn't want to jinx anything and get rid of the best slogan ever and move on. So he's keeping the both of them. But he'll do these live polls. He says, this is better than hiring a pollster. We'll just do a poll right here. So he's always doing that. But then I'm finding now when we get into the end of June, after we have the nominee, the whole speeches are going to change like how they did in 2016. where he'll be mainly talking about his opponent and what they're going to do versus what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So that style will change from what we're seeing like every day. He'll talk a little bit about the news, but it's going to be mainly stressed on that. So, because I remember towards the end when I was doing the rallies in September, October of 2016, some of the speeches I could almost say out loud, memorize out loud, and say what he was going to say before he said it. Because you're watching all the rallies live at home on TV, or you're there. So you'll get into knowing what he's going to say before he says it when it gets more into the repetitive, because he's going to all these different cities. So a lot of people are hearing these things for the first time, except for the handful of us that are traveling around the country. So there'll be a little bit of changing when we get closer to the election night itself.
Have there been any presidents? Have there been any previous U.S. presidents that you followed the way that you have followed President Trump?
I never followed any before. I voted for the Republican just because I liked their policies better, but I didn't really know anything about any of this. So I didn't even know that they voted first in Iowa with the caucus, never even heard of it. And I don't think I ever voted in a primary. I didn't even know that was a thing. I was like, Michigan, can we vote in a primary in Michigan? It's like, I don't know. And everybody is really uneducated on that, because I talked to other people. Well, I've never voted in a primary either. And all these people were energized by Donald Trump that they were learning about, these different things that were going on. Many people in my hometown in Sioux State, we had never even voted in a primary. And everybody was like, well, I don't know if we do that here in this city. But we do, but nobody knew about it. So a lot of voters, even that had never voted before, came out. One of my neighbors voted Democrat. He didn't vote for Obama. I think he just stayed home. But he switched to the Republican Party. There's many people, like I went over and saw Candace Owens speak, and she's all for the blacks, where the blacks are exiting the Democratic Party, and she does a really good speech. I saw her yesterday. And she's traveling around the country with Turning Point USA and going to colleges and working with Charlie Kirk. And they do a really good job at trying to get new voters to come out and vote. So the big deal is trying to get new voters registered to vote, so that they can win like the swing states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Florida.
Yeah, I saw recently speaking at CPAC. What is his name? The guy who founded #WalkAway.
Oh, Brandon Straka.
Yeah, I saw that guy.
I saw him. That was the first time I saw him live, and he does a really good job. He's going to be doing some different events. I think he said there was one coming up in Washington, D.C., a big event. I don't remember the date. We'd have to go to his page and look at that. And I haven't been able to attend any of his speeches yet because I'm so busy with everything else that's going on. But last night I was at the Scott Pressler event, and 2 seats down from me was Brandon Straka. He went to watch Scott Pressler, and Scott Pressler's the one that's traveling around the country registering new voters. He'll be in Pennsylvania, he's hitting Florida, he's coming to Michigan and Detroit area, and he's doing cleanups around the country, picking up trash. And then he engages, and when he's doing the picking up trash in these different cities around the nation, he also goes to the different counties and has meetings with people and gets them registered to vote, and then he trains people how to register new voters. So he was at CPAC yesterday for his speech, and Brandon Straka attended that one.
Yeah, I brought up Brandon Straka because his #WalkAway. That's the movement that I fell into in 2016. In 2016, I volunteered for Bernie Sanders because I thought he was the best Democrat. He was the best candidate on the Democratic side, and at the time I knew that Trump was going to be the Republican nominee. And my philosophy was, well, if Trump doesn't win, I would much rather him lose to Bernie Sanders. I would much rather have a president, Bernie Sanders, than a president, Hillary Clinton. But after we and so many others on the Democratic side saw that the Democratic Party is the party of election fraud. They don't care about the voters. They don't care about running a real, honest democracy. All they care about is propping up their favored candidates. I was part of, his what he observed at the time, which was #walkaway. You know, it's we don't need to be a captive audience to the Democratic Party. So I want to ask you, what is one or what are several of your favorite achievements that Trump has done in office so far?
Let's see. Well, for one was the tax cuts, because that helped a lot with the economy, and then the cutting all the regulations. So now if for every new regulation that comes in, he gets rid of 2. And he stated that during his presidency so far in 3 years, he has cut more regulations than any sitting president. And so that does a lot of help, especially for the small businesses, because they get stifled with all these regulations and they can't even open up a business. Bernie Sanders wants small businesses to pay a 90% tax, so they aren't going to make any money. So the small businesses are going to be closing or not even starting up. And some of the other things would be, well, for one, he got rid of the Obamacare mandate, which is horrible. You have to pay a fine for having insurance that's rotten. So I tried the insurance and it's rotten. It's expensive, and it doesn't cover anything until you pay the deductible of over $7,000. So, but I wasn't smart enough to go to Google and say, what happens if I don't pay the Obamacare fine? Nothing. So I quit paying for the insurance that was expensive and covered nothing, and just went for the fine. Well, they mail me this mail and say I owe $700 or $800, and they send out mail 3 or 4 times. I just don't even bother opening it, because I know I'm not going to pay the fine anyway. So for 2 years I got fines. I don't even know what the fines are, because they quit sending me the mail. And if you go to Google, they can't garnish your wages, they can't come and seize your property, and they can't put you in jail. But they actually will lie to you in these letters and say that they're going to do all these things, but they can't. So when Donald Trump and the different things were saying that they will try to rule you with an iron fist, it's basically scare tactics to make you pay these fines, but nobody's even paying them. So now at least, with Obamacare mandate being gone, at least my fines won't go higher in my name. The only thing that they can do is they can take away my income tax refund, which is about $95. So for about 10 or 15 years, they'll take away my small income tax refund, and then I won't have a fine in my name anymore. So that's the only way that they're getting money out of people, is by taking your income tax refund and applying it to your fine.
So if you had lunch with President Trump tomorrow, what is one thing that he hasn't done yet that you would ask him to do?
Probably start working on the phase 2 of the tax cuts, because people are kind of curious as to what that's going to be like.
I can't remember. I think it was what's that guy's name? Larry Kudlow. I think he was talking about a middle class tax cuts. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
All right, middle class tax cuts. Let's get it done, Mr. Trump. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives with us.